These three examples then amplify what Jesus means in his thesis statement. Don't react violently against the one who is evil. Instead of two options ingrained in us by millions of years of threats from the environment and other people, flight or fight, Jesus offers a third way. This new way marks a historic mutation in human development, the revolt against the principle of natural selection. With Jesus, a way emerges by which evil can be opposed without being mirrored. It's too bad that Jesus did not provide 15 or 20 further role plays. So we don't have, since we do not tend naturally to this response. To those who's, but you know, Gene Sharp is one of the great writers in the area of nonviolence, has found 198 nonviolent types of action, under which they got many listings. To those whose lifelong pattern has been to cringe before their masters, Jesus offers a way to liberate themselves from servile actions and a servile mentality. And he asserts that they can do this before there is a revolution. There's no need to wait till Rome is defeated. Slaves are freed. Peasants have land. They can begin to behave with dignity and recovered humanity now, even under the unchanged conditions of the old order. Jesus' sense of divine immediacy has social implications. The reign of God is already breaking into the world. And it comes not as an imposition from on high, but as the leaven slowly causing the dough to rise, as in Jesus' parable of the leaven. Jesus' teaching on nonviolence is thus integral to his proclamation of the dawning of the reign of God. Here was indeed a way to resist the powers that be without being made over into their likeness. Jesus did not endorse armed revolution. It's not hard to see why. In the conditions of first century Palestine, violent revolution against the Romans proved catastrophic. But he did lay the foundations for a social revolution. And a social revolution becomes political when it reaches a threshold, a critical threshold of acceptance. This, in fact, did happen to the Roman Empire, as the Christian church overcame it from below and was in turn overcome by the Roman Empire from above in the form of Constantine, the first Christian emperor. Nor were peasants and slaves in a position to transform the economic system by frontal assault. But they could begin to act from an already recovered dignity and freedom. They could create within the shell of the old society the foundations of God's domination-free order. They could begin living as if the reign of God was already arriving. This is not pie-in-the-sky idealism. It was literally enacted in Poland when, in 1980, the labor union Solidarity was organized in defiance of the communist regime. After a year and a half, Solidarity was declared illegal and martial law was imposed. Solidarity appeared to have disappeared altogether. But in fact, it had gone underground, with its own universities and secondary schools being held in private homes, poetry readings, concerts, in fact, all the elements of a dynamic society. When the communist rulers foolishly called a snap election to endorse their rule, solidarity suddenly reappeared and won all 98 contested seats in Parliament. They had not been destroyed. Rather, they had built, by nonviolent means, a democratic shell within the shell of the old decrepit rule. To an oppressed people, Jesus is saying, do not continue to acquiesce in your oppression by the powers, but do not react violently to them either. Rather, find that third way, a way that is neither submission nor assault, neither flight nor fight, a way that can secure your human dignity and begin to change the power equation, even now, before the revolution. Turn your cheek, thus indicating to the one who backhands you that his attempts to shame you into servility have failed. Strip naked and parade out of court, thus taking the momentum of the law and the whole debt economy and flipping them Aikido-like in the burlesque of legality. Walk a second mile, surprising the occupation troops by placing them in jeopardy with their superiors. In short, take the law and push it to the point of absurdity. These are, of course, not rules to be followed legalistically, but examples to spark an infinite variety of creative responses in new and changing circumstances. They break the cycle of humiliation with humor and even ridicule, exposing the injustice of the system. They recover for the poor a modicum of initiative that can force the oppressors to see them in a new light. Jesus is not advocating nonviolence merely as a technique for outwitting the enemy, but as a just means of opposing the enemy in a way that holds open the possibility of the enemies becoming just also. If possible, we want both sides to win. This is necessary since we will usually have to live with our opponents after the conflict is over, as in South Africa. We are summoned to pray for our enemy's transformation and to respond to ill treatment with love. The logic of Jesus' examples in Matthew goes beyond both inaction and overreaction to a new response, fired in the crucible of love, that promises to liberate the oppressed from evil, even as it frees the oppressor from sin. Do not react violently to evil. Do not counter evil in kind. Do not let evil dictate the terms of your opposition. Do not let violence lead you to mirror your opponent. Don't become the very thing you hate. This forms the revolutionary principle that Jesus articulates as the basis for nonviolently engaging the powers. Jesus abhors both passivity and violence. He articulates out of the history of his own people's struggles a way by which the oppressor can be resisted without being emulated, and the enemy neutralized without being destroyed. Those who lived by Jesus' words point us to a new way of confronting evil, whose potential for personal and social transformation we are only beginning to grasp today.